I think on the face of it, they have to be seen to be pushing people away from having cars into public transport. But the reality is, it's such a big money earner, that they couldn't do that. You know, the amount of revenue that's raised from taxing, from fuel, obviously supports the NHS, it supports the education. It's a double-edged sword. They'd like to do it, but really can they afford to do it?
I mean, I wouldn't really think they're trying to deter it, but more to look at other options. I mean, I've lived in London for like the last 7 years and I've never needed to own a car. Your average car parking bay can actually fit about 10 bikes in there. So for us, if you've got flats, high-rise flats, it actually makes sense for owners to actually have bikes there instead of actually having a car there. So something like our Lambeth bike hangar or our car bike port has really been encouraging people to kind of get on the bike and actually try and not deter cars, but just find ways that actually make sense to get places faster.
Yeah, so there are a number of techniques that different countries use to make it more expensive for car users to go inside the city. So part of that is actually charging based on the congestion, so make it more expensive for the car drivers to go into the city.
Congestion charging has been there during Caesar's time. It's something that introduced by banning horse carriages in the city centre during the day, and it's something that's also it's got its own historical trends in early 19th century in England. We've had congestion charging in various guises and forms. So the congestion charging that I see today is no different to what's been happening over the last centuries, meaning it's a problem that's been there and it's a problem that's going to persist. Congestion charging can exist, but I don't see it as having been successful at actually deterring people from owning cars.
One of the ways in which the government might be seen to be deterring car ownership is by the use of variable speed limits on motorways. As the motorway gets more busy, the speed limit is reduced to get drivers to slow down and drive more carefully. And some drivers may see this as an attack on their freedom, or may find it's actually quicker then to take public transport instead.
I don't believe the government uses speed limits to deter car ownership. A lot of people are under the impression that speed limits are there to restrict their movements and control what they're doing. But my professional experience is that they're always there as an appropriate management tool to make sure that we get the most out of the highway.
As the road network becomes more and more congested, the price of car travel has actually come down in recent years. So comparative with public transport, car travel is now cheaper per mile in many cases. So we need to seriously think about how we are going to manage demand for the finite amount of road space we have in the UK. And I think that's going to be a big challenge for government policymakers going forward.